What's up, everybody? Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Sideboard Files here on HEDRON.TV. My name is Manuel. I'm your host as usual, and I hope you had a nice time during the holidays. We're now ready to start 2018 with a bang, because I have here joining the show a man who knows quite a lot about Legacy and Eternal formats in general. Amadeus Grün, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely a pleasure. Thank you for coming over and taking your time to be here. So, I said starting 2018 with a bang for a very specific reason. Well, actually two that are intertwined. The first one is that we get to talk about Legacy, and I love Legacy, so it's always good. It's always good. The second one is that you attended the MKM Series 2018 in Frankfurt, the first weekend of January, and with your personal take on a very particular archetype, you were undefeated in the Swiss, and then you battled your way up to the finals. So you didn't grab the trophy, you were that close, but is indeed a fantastic run anyway. Yeah. So congratulations to you for this great achievement. I think it's a fantastic run. And this deck that you like to call Man of Steel, that's heavy metal, that's very heavy metal. Known also as Steel Stompy, Ravager, Shop, or whatever we want to call it. I see somehow a link between Legacy and Vintage here in the way, you know.
Yes,
this deck
I started for 5 years ago. I started playing Legacy only to know why does no one play the Shops deck in Legacy. At that time, I wanted to prove that you can play 4 Trini Spheres, and I did this for 1.5 years and won a lot of money.
That's very good. So, so this kind of strategy always has been always working out for you, let's say. You feel it.
Yeah, the first deck that I played was very bad, but it was all in on first turn Trini Sphere. So you played Simon Spirit Guides and Grim Monoliths and all the Soul Lands, and the very famous combo of turn 1 City of Traders, turn 2 Cloud Post. It's very bad, but you have to do what you have to do if you play Sundering Titan in your deck.
Yeah, okay, so that's when the love for artifact and Stompy stuff started. All right, so of course, in this video, we're going to talk about the sideboard. We're going to have a close look to your choices and the way you prepared for the MKM Series tournament and the Legacy portion, of course. That's what we're talking about. But before doing all this, I'd like to have a look at your main deck configuration. So we have the list here on screen. And I've seen on the internet a few people already talking about this list. The Frankfurt list, you know, because and stuff like that. So let's explain a bit to those who are not really familiar with this archetype, how this deck works and what are the core cards on the deck.
Oh, this deck works like that. You have to have 2 mana on first turn and 2 mana on the second turn. So if you have turn 1 mana land and Lotus Petal, you have to have a second land, or you have to have a Soul Land. And you play turn 1 Thorn of Amethyst, Chalice for 1, or Seal Overseer. And if you didn't get an especially very good hand on turn 2, you have to mulligan everything else. And the nut draw of the deck is you have a Soul Land, a Mox Opal, and a Lotus Petal. So again, 2-drop, 2-drop on turn 1. Next turn, 1 mana land, 2-drop, 2-drop. That's the nut draw. You almost never lose these games.
Right. So do you want to have sort of like very powerful start?
Yes.
And is the strategy? You're not really a prison deck, even if you're like Thorn of Amethyst.
It's the rarest of archetypes. It's an aggro prison deck.
It's an aggro prison deck.
Yes.
Does it do sort of tempo thing?
It can work out as a tempo deck, but you really want to lock your opponent out of the game with Thorn of Amethyst, Chalice, and Lodestone Golem and Wasteland. And you don't have to lock him out of the game the whole way because your clock is very fast. So you usually kill on turn 4 to 5, and if you kill him on turn 4 or 5 and put 1 disruption piece into play, that's usually good enough.
Okay, so we're talking about prison elements, but aggro strategy. You want to close the games fairly fast. That's the kind of thing you want to do.
And you have almost the best late game in the format. The only deck that is capable of being greater in the long run is Lands and Eldrazi Post. Almost everything else, if they play Better Skulls or something like that, Steel Overseer outpaces them 2 to 3 turns.
All right. Okay.
With the trash can you have. Okay. The really cool thing is you have a very good trash can in comparison to the Modern Affinity deck that plays very bad cards, and you play good cards that counts as the trash can. So it's a Walking Ballista, Phyrexian Revoker, Volt Scourge is very good, but doesn't look as good on paper.
Okay, let's talk about the Volt Scourge, yeah, because this is like one of your choices that you specifically went for in preparation for the MKM Series tournament.
Yes, Volt Scourge has very many keywords. It has flying and lifelink. You need a specific amount of life gain in the deck, and I figured out 6 is the correct number, so the 2 Inventor Spheres and the 4 Volt Scourges. Volt Scourge is a bit strange in the life gain thing because you have to pay almost always 2 life to play it. But after 1 turn with Steel Overseer or Archbond Ravager, you have the life back.
All right.
And aggro decks like Burn or Rug Delver can beat it. And the flying is very important because you have, except for the Thopters that came out of the Hangerback Walker, you have no flyers. And the first turn Delver who flips, you got the 4 Volt Scourges and the 4 Walking Ballistas, which are very expensive in killing Delvers.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one of these, you have to raise them.
All right. Okay. But with the Volt Scourge, if you get, I don't know, the Steel Overseer or the Ravager getting counters on it and stuff like that, you can actually contain a very early Delver.
You win all the races.
Yeah, you win all the races.
If this guy goes to 4-4, you win all the races. The one at the MKM Series against Gormak Engler, Young Pyromancer with 3 tokens, and True Name Nemesis, and I had 1 Revoker and a 4-4 Volt Scourge.
And you just jam in.
He jams in as I attacked, and I jam back, and my 2-2 Walking Ballista at the end of the game sealed the deal.
All right. Okay. So very effective. Talking about the creatures, we're talking about the Volt Scourge, like special thing. We're talking about the Walking Ballista, the Ravager, the Steel Overseer. These last 3 that I mentioned, these are like the core of the deck?
The core of the deck is the old combo of Triskelion and Archbond Ravager, and Walking Ballista is a strictly upgrade to Triskelion. You can play it for 6 mana and get the 3 counters as Triskelion. He's the 1/1 anyway, but it doesn't matter. And it's a 2 mana Triskelion. And the idea is you have a lot of reach with Archbond Ravager and Walking Ballista if they combine together, but they are away from each other very good cards. Ravager almost combos with everything in the deck, and Walking Ballista, you don't think you would pump it all the time, but I pumped it, I think, 3 times for 4 damage to me. 2 Ancient Tombs, pump 1 counter, and it's totally fine. It's totally fine turn.
Okay.
If you're out of gas, if your hand is on the table.
Okay, so Triskelion effects in the sense that with the Walking Ballista and the Steel Overseer, with all this counter stuff, you're applying that kind of strategy.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah, you create reach in a deck that shouldn't have reach.
Which is absolutely great.
Yeah.
All right, so other cards that you put in preparation for the MKM Series, one-off and stuff like that, I see 1 Sword of Fire and Ice.
Yeah, Sword of Fire and Ice is especially for the matchup with Baleful Strix and True Name Nemesis, because it gains protection from blue, so no one of these can block it. And you can shoot the Baleful Strix afterwards and attack the turn after it with everything. And I wanted to have some kind of draw engine in my deck, and I couldn't find anything that is good enough except for Sword of Fire and Ice, because it does 2 things at the same time. Protects for these very good cards against me and is a draw engine.
Right, yeah, makes perfect sense. Especially if you were expecting a very specific metagame, you want to have this card because you have a second one in the sideboard, if I remember
even if you don't expect a very specific metagame, it gives +4 power, basically, and draws a card.
Okay,
it's so very good for this deck.
Okay. So at the end of the day, it just fits perfectly with the strategy of the deck. Okay, I wanted to ask about Revoker, because I've seen Steel Stompy lists and stuff like that. Some people playing in the sideboard, some people playing in the main. You wanted to have them in the main.
It's totally incorrect to play them in the sideboard or less than 4. You need them. You need them all the time. I think there are 2 matchups where I bought them out, and except for them, every time run 4.
They're always good.
Always good.
They have so many targets.
They have so many targets, the prominent ones: Mox Diamond, Deathrite Shaman, Jace the Mind Sculptor, endless. In Elves, every card.
Yeah.
It's totally endless. And that's why, especially Storm, for example, is a buy. You have the 10 cards they can beat, and you can lock them out of Lines of Diamond and Lotus Petals. And so they can do nothing.
All right.
You can draw whatever you want and you win.
Okay, perfect. Anything else that you would like to add about the main deck? Something we didn't talk about?
The lands. The last 4 lands in my deck are the 2 Karakas and the 2 Inventor Spheres. The 2 Inventor Spheres grade up everything from sort of fine ice from 1 off to 3 off because you can search it up. Most of the time you search Walking Ballista and win the game, but you can search everything in the deck except for lands. And Caracas makes matchups like Sneak Show and Reanimator in the first game winnable.
Sure.
And is so good against Leo Vault. Can't believe it. Most of the people that know Legacy board out Leo Vault against me only because of 2 Caracas. Because it's I tap 1 mana, you pay 3 and draw a card. That's not good enough. That's not good enough against an aggro deck.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. All right. Okay. So I think we said it all for the main deck. I'm thinking. Oh, maybe there's one last question I want to ask you. I think in the very early incarnation of this kind of archetype, you had the artifact lands.
I never played the artifact lands.
You personally never played the artifact lands, but they existed. But of course, to actually go for this aggro prison style deck, you need the soul lands rather than the artifact lands. This is why the artifact lands are not there.
The artifact lands could be there, but they have to compete for the spots with Mishra's Factory, which is insane in this deck. With Steel Overseer, you can play it, tap it, activate it, tap Steel Overseer, and it gets the counter and it stays there. Yeah. So you have a threat that doesn't die to sweepers and is... I had against Eldrazi a factory that attacks for 7. It's almost unbeatable.
Yeah, sure.
And there are 4 Wastelands. You need Wastelands. You play 6 Fearless Facts, 2 Golems and 4 Thorn of Amethyst. It's totally bonkers not to play it.
Sure.
And you don't need as many mana. So the last 4 lands could be artifact lands. But Caracas, I explained, it's too good to not to play. And Inventor's Fair is 2 of the 6 life gain cards in the deck and can tutor up anything you want, especially your sideboard cards.
Okay. Excellent. We can start talking about the sideboard right here. These are your choices. Many of those are probably just, I wouldn't say staples in your sideboard, but somehow the cards you want to go for. But some other maybe are some sort of meta calls for the MKM series. You will explain. But anyway, let's go through it. So you have 4 Ley Line of the Void, 4 Ensnaring Bridge, 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Spellskite, and 1 Sword of Fire and Ice. It's like a lot of 4 elves, and there are not many different cards in there. But I guess you have a very specific plan for this. So the first thing I would like to ask you is, what kind of sideboard is this?
This is a sideboard where you can switch plans against decks where your main deck plan isn't good enough. That's the 10 cards up here.
Okay.
You switch plans, and the other are value purposes to take out something that's not good in this matchup and take something in. And Spellskite especially protects everything as a hate card. It protects your Steel Overseer to go beatdown. It protects your Ensnaring Bridge if it gets bounced or destroyed, or your Spyglasses if you need it. So it's more copies of the cards I have 4 copies of.
Aha, okay. So that's the role that it fits.
Yes.
Okay.
Protects your Chalice, protects your Ensnaring Bridge.
Okay, very good. So a sideboard that allows you to actually get a different plan in case it's necessary for those matchups in which your main game plan is not enough. So that's basically the idea. Plus some fine-tuning. So card by card, Spellskite, we talked about it already, so we can just go up back to those. So 4 Ley Line of the Void. It's
a very late addition to the deck. I used to play 4 Fairy Macabre, but because you can counter it, like Leyline of the Void, you can draw it after you have a starting hand, better than Leyline of the Void, but it's not enough against the worst matchup of the deck, it's lands. So I play Ley Lines. Even if I can hardly cast it, I have 7 black sources in the deck, 4 are Lotus Petals, 3 are Mox Opals. I have to draw 2 to play it, but it's worth the risk. If you have it on your starting hand against these matchups like Reanimator and lands, you win.
All right, okay. So lands a very difficult matchup.
Yes.
Reanimator as well, a very difficult matchup, or?
Reanimator depends on the first game. If you start and put a hate piece down, you almost always win. If they start, you almost always lose, except you have a Caracas.
All right, okay. So you need Caracas more than Ley Line in the end.
You need Caracas in the main deck or start. But if you start against... I can think of a combo deck where you start and you are not 90% to win.
Yeah, sure.
If you start, you're 90% to win against any combo deck.
Sure. All right, okay. So 4 Ley Line of the Void, mainly for lands, we said.
Because it's the hardest hate card you can play.
Yeah. You mulligan aggressively to get actually the Ley Line in your starting hand, or you're okay with casting it later on?
That depends on the matchup. If it's lands and I don't have the ley line and I start the second game, I have to play Chalice on 1 turn 1 because that stops their exploration and their gamble, so their graveyard is not as threatening.
Yeah.
Only 2 lands, playing 2 lands a turn and having access to the graveyard is what beats you.
Okay.
And if they don't have both, it's okay. If you don't have anything where the name has Of the Void in it, you can play it on turn 1. No, ship it.
All right. Okay. So you want to mulligan and have at least one of those two.
Yes.
Chalice of the Void or Ley Line of the Void.
Yes.
Like the Void party.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Ensnaring Bridge. 4 of.
Ensnaring Bridge is very interesting because it serves so many matchups. It's very good against Reanimator as the secondary best card against, behind Leyline, because they almost always can't beat it except for Sideboard Tyrant. It's very, very, very good against Eldrazi because they can't kill it, and you play your game as long as you want, and if you are ready, you shoot them with your Walking Ballista or Secretary Ravager attack and win.
Yeah. So
you play as long as you want, and then you win, and they can do anything about it except for they splashing any crazy color. And Sneak Show. Because Sneak Show almost always, if they are very good, they play 3 solutions to the bridge. If it's very good solutions, one of them is Echoing Truth. So you have to be a little bit tricky, but the hard lock is 2 bridges. And you can put it in with Show and Tell. I think what you have to know is the hard lock, the really hard lock is 2 bridges and a Ravager or a Spell's Guide. Then if anything happens to your bridge, you can redirect it to Spell's Guide, or if you have the Ravager and the Echoing Truths 2 of your bridges, this one what is target, you sack to the Ravager, so the spell is counted in resolution, you stay with 1 bridge.
Yeah.
So it's the hard lock, you win.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
All right. I love it because you have like very, let's say, defined plans. Yeah. So these cards are here for very specific reasons.
Yes.
It's just
they don't come in other matchups. It's only for this.
Only for this stuff.
And that is why Ravager and Ballista are so important to this deck, because you can't play the Ensnaring Bridge plan without them, because they are your solutions to your own bridge. You can't kill your own bridge except for the Ratchet Bomb, and the most part, Ratchet Bomb don't come in when Ensnaring Bridge comes in. And Ensnaring Bridge has to be solved for your own game plan, to attack or to shoot him with a Walking Ballista.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Next. Sorcerer Spyglass. They printed an excellent new edition, of course.
Yeah. That's another concession to lands. You have to lock lands out of the game, and if you can name the perfect card on their hand, you win.
Sure.
If I could play with colored cards and the newest set, I would play Bloodsun, but it hurts me too, and Sorcerer Spyglasses doesn't hurt you anyway. Before Ixalan, you had to play Pithing Needle in these slots, and that hurts you because you can't play Chalice for 1 and Pithing Needle in the same deck.
Very true.
You can, but it sometimes hurts you. Sorcerer Spyglasses never hurts you.
Sure.
And you can look at the hand and look what is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But it comes in many matchups, I think. I don't know exactly the time in which, but it's for lands.
Yeah, we will talk about the specific matchups in a future video when we do the sideboard guide, because we already have this planned. So we will get all the explanations. But I understand, I mean, the 2 converted mana cost is a huge thing in a Chalice of the Void deck. And what it does, it's also good. It also gives you information because you see your opponent's hand, which is also good. Then you can like tune your game plan accordingly.
Or name fetch lands.
Or name fetch lands also, because that doesn't hurt you and it hurts them anyway. So yeah, absolutely. Very good. So second row here, we have 2 Ratchet Bomb.
Ratchet Bomb is mainly in the deck to beat opposing tokens like Anti-the Warrants tokens, Pithing Needles, and Ensnaring Bridge from your opponent. That is what it's about. And in any matchup where it's decided on the board and not on the stack, you almost always board out Throne of Amethyst for these 4 cards, for 2 Spell's Guides and 2 Ratchet Bombs, because they are better in these matchups.
Okay. So it's like a card against what people are going to side against you, more or less.
Yes.
Getting rid of the hate.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Can say so.
We can just resume the whole thing to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a very good point. So Spell's Guide, we talked about it already. last but not least, okay, second Sword of Fire and Ice. We already talked about the card before. We were talking about the main deck.
Yeah.
It's like more of the same because in certain matchups you want to have
access
access to a second one.
You want to draw more of them. You want the higher chance of drawing it against everything with mainly blue creatures and many removals, because it's protection from Forked Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Abrade.
Yeah,
a good Abrade kills the sword. But if they kill the sword, the creature stays on the battlefield anyway.
Yeah, that's also true. So it's a trade that you are willing to accept, let's say. Okay, and you said you're happy to draw more than one.
Yes.
So it's okay if you actually have two
it's okay.
in the early turns of the game, because you draw a second one, you have the
it's
first
not legendary.
one.
You can put it on one creature or on two different creatures. It's okay.
Yeah, that's also absolutely true. Right, okay, I think we said it all for the sideboard. So, and we also reached the end of this very episode, because we're going to do a sideboard guide for this deck, but in a different episode, coming soon, of course. So, thank you very much, Amadeus, for being here.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and you are coming back, so I hope you had fun, because I surely had. I mean, it was a nice video, nice episode. And of course, a big thank you to all of you who've been watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, because I said we surely did. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to reach us on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/HEDRON.TV, twitter.com/HEDRON.TV. And of course, stay tuned on HEDRON.TV for more content to come, and the sideboard guide for Steel Stompy, also known as Man of Steel. And for now, it's goodbye.